Hello again and good afternoon. Welcome back to the Hannover Messe Hydrogen Fuel Cells and Batteries Group Exhibit 2018. Thank you for staying with us for our next talk, which will be with Dr. Albrecht Möllmann, who's chairman at Hi Cologne. And the topic today is vadis, fuel cell electric vehicles, experiences and observations of the regional cluster. Thank you very much for joining us this morning. Welcome.
Thank you.
Thank you. Hi. Thank you. Okay, so first I would like to ask you, please, if you can tell us about what Hi Cologne does.
Well, Hi Cologne is a regional cluster located, as the name says, close to Cologne, and it was started more than 10 years ago with the idea that by doing it so close to a chemical park where hydrogen is available, that we can use this hydrogen to bring the e-mobility hydrogen technology forward on a very pragmatic basis. We have won quite a few, at least now we have 28 members who carry on our activities, and until now we could say it's a success story because the initiation via Hi Cologne with the partners ended up very quickly in the use of byproduct hydrogen of the chemical park for a very reasonable price. This hydrogen is feeding a fuel station, which was also initiated by Hi Cologne and its members, for sure funded by the federal government, but it was not part of any program. It was something very special. And well, the fuel station for sure needed let's say a consumer, because having a fuel station does not mean that it makes sense to have it. And as there were no cars available and the demand of the local market was we need zero emission public transport. That means buses were on the line to use the hydrogen. At that time in Berlin was a very interesting project going on. That was a project with MAN and the Berlin public transport. They had used buses where the diesel was replaced by hydrogen. This technology would have been only transient technology for sure, but we saw it, we were convinced we should start with, and because the lifetime of a bus is about 12 years, and in this time other technologies would develop. That was the philosophy behind. But unfortunately these buses were not anymore available due to the financial crisis. The production was stopped, and then the next step up had to be fulfilled, hydrogen fuel cell buses. But they were very rare on the market. Mercedes had some, but they were more or less sold at that time, all of them. And so we started up with 2 buses, and they did a good job for about 5 years, and another 2 buses followed then 3 years later, and they did such a fantastic job that the fuel cell system has proven as very reliable, very reasonable, and also cost-effective. And these experiences, together with the experiences in other places, were, let's say, the backbone for developing new programs, so that in a first step, buses will come into the region of Cologne in a higher figure, not only 1 to 3. It will be the first step 30, together with Wuppertal 40. This is, from our point of view, a reasonable and challenging number. But that was a development in a few sentences described 10 years, and it looks all very successful. But now, for sure, we had also a look on cars. Anyhow, the discussion we followed was for sure also very challenging. We were very empathetic, very excited. Daimler, the B class, you know all this. They have shipped this class, these 3 cars with a hydrogen fuel cells around the world, and for us it was quite clear, okay, that's it. So we need an infrastructure here, and then we shall find systems to implement such vehicles, either with the cities, which are also our members, cities of Fürth, Cologne and Brühl, or other partners who are very interested, like the airport of Cologne, and so on and so on. But then you know the story. The B classes are still doing a good job, but they are not anymore technically further developed. The GLC F-cell was a symbol about 1.5 years ago, showing, okay, the system will go on. But, and this was the reason for, since it is clear that the fuel stations, hydrogen fuel stations, will be built up in a reasonable number, like 100 until the end of next year, we also raised the question, where are the cars? We have been here on stage, also with Hyundai and Toyota and so on, but no one from Germany, neither Volkswagen or BMW or Mercedes was here. But anyhow, we do not look really on the type of car where it comes from, but we want to have cars. We need cars. And not only 1, 2, 3, we need them in huge numbers. Because we have now, at the end of the day, 100 fuel stations, and then we need also cars which use the hydrogen, the technology, bring it forward, improve the awareness. And this is what HyCologne is looking for. What has been done in the past, we say it was very successful, but to say it was successful, we are looking further on, and then we are also looking critical in the nowadays situation. Therefore, the question.
Yes, so that was exactly my question. You come to a conference, and the general consensus seems to be that, we're doing, everything's great, we have the technology, we're moving forward, but then you come and you say kind of the opposite. And so I wanted to ask you, what do you mean by cool vadis? Like, where are we going?
Yes, this is for us at the moment a very important question, because the last years were quite intensive discussions concerning e-mobility. Here on stage we had some experts saying e-mobility is understood in one way only battery, in the other way also hydrogen fuel cell or hybrid, and so on and so on. So that also shows that e-mobility is something which is not yet completely coordinated. All these activities concerning e-mobility battery-driven or e-mobility hydrogen fuel cell-driven were more or less competing over years. From my point of view, why compete? E-mobility battery has its playground and hydrogen fuel cell vehicles as well. But anyhow, by many reasons, I can only assume some. At the moment, the OEMs or the manufacturers do not really have a big favor in bringing fuel cell cars on the market. I was very happy on Monday when the Hyundai representative was here, and I asked him the question, can you imagine to bring 1,000 cars to Germany in a short time? And he doubted, said yes, until next year and the end of next year we can do. This is a figure, 1,000, but frankly spoken, 1,000 cars, this is a homeopathic doses of what we need. And we activate not because we like hydrogen fuel cell cars. We have a goal. We have, since Paris, we have clear goals. We have to reduce the CO2 NOx emission in traffic rapidly. And the result right now is, in Germany, that the traffic did not reduce in the meantime. Its emissions, it really increased. And these trends, but on the one hand, the demand, the political demand on the other hand, and the fact that we have at the moment the impression that everything is ready to go, but there are quite a few feet on the brakes, and they don't loosen the brakes. Starting, let's say, with the mindset, some companies say, well, we have to calculate, we really don't know where the trend goes to. Frankly spoken, hydrogen fuel cells are missing an Elon Musk. He said, we do it, we make battery cars, and he goes like this. Whether it would help, but anyhow, this it's fact that thinking and speaking with one voice is a challenge which has to be fulfilled closely. But nevertheless, we have now the situation that we have to fulfill a climate challenge in traffic, that a technology is available which can be used for this, but it really does not really come on stage in a respective number. With buses, it works, and it will be expanding. With cars, it also seems to work, but this situation could have been 10 years ago, but what has happened in the 10 years' time?
What do you think is necessary for that condition to improve? Could it be something like maybe something that's government mandated? For example, there are some cities all around the world where the government says, okay, we're going to have by 2020, for example. I have an example of the province of Quebec in Canada, where they do have a mandate from the government that there has to be hydrogen cars and there has to be fueling stations.
Well, I'm not a friend of restricted regulations or restricting your relations on the one hand. On the other hand, so much money was invested to bring this technology and to bring these activities forward. And it was based on, let's say, on a volunteer level. So we support the OEMs and whoever to bring the cars or to develop the cars and so on and so on. But now the cars are not from a German side visible that they will be manufactured in a reasonable number of vehicles. For sure, Hyundai is very active, Toyota is active. Why shouldn't we buy these cars? But when we develop the technology here and it is needed, why does it not go the next step in the German OEMs to do so? The situation right now is, which is for me also very interesting, maybe embarrassing. I really don't like to look over the fence to say they are doing it much better. We can do many things very good. But in China, I saw figures. They are now increasing and starting the technology with figures we would have wished to have here. And well, last not least, to whom you speak, many manufacturers of spare parts for anything which is needed for hydrogen fuel cell systems, they have a very good market now in China. And when you see the figures, you can understand that it is a good market. But it will mean on the end of the day that when China has produced maybe 100,000 hydrogen fuel cell vehicles until 2020, at the end of the day, if we don't have cars like this here, we shall re-import them with our knowledge, with our technology. For sure, why not? German cars are sold to China in a large number, so then we can get them back. But a lot of the knowledge and knowledge experience was finally invested here, and I think it should stay here. Therefore, I ask the question, quo vadis? We have now fuel stations, 100 by the end of the day, but we need the cars, and let's say my approach is everybody who can take care on this question should do so. We as a cluster, we have the approach that in our regional cluster we have hydrogen, we can push this technology forward with the capabilities we have. But there are also other clusters in a network in which we work together. And not only regional clusters in the Cologne area, but in the Ruhr area and also in Flandern. So also the initiatives altogether, they have a certain kind of power, which had been proven by a special application in the beginning of this year. And my idea is, and at the moment, let's say the only way I'm thinking about, let's put together and try to move these people forward who at the moment still have the foot on the brake, instead of losing the brake and say, let's go and bring this technology together with battery or with the hybrid system on the market. Technology open as long as possible, and when the market finally will say, okay, hydrogen fuel cell is very good, we need more cars, you can have it, fine. If not, then we have proven reasons and not political issues.
Do you think that the lack of demand for these types of cars has to do with perhaps marketing, the fact that hydrogen and fuel cell doesn't sound as compact and widely used as battery, per se?
Well, in the discussions we have about this technology in these cars, brought me to the mindset, okay, hydrogen fuel cell. As soon as you mention this, many technicians smile, but car users, something very technical, and hydrogen is not green, maybe not green, or is something very complicated, and so on and so on. Maybe a different branding and a different mindset would to say we have F-cell cars, we have B-cell cars, M-cell cars. So just like this, and if it looks as good as the Nexo from Hyundai does, maybe other people won't care to have an F-cell car. It has a nice color, nice seats, everything fantastic, nice cameras, and zero emission, by the way. And if you go with this car to a golf course, then we say zero emission in our Greenland, fantastic.
And if it looks good, has a nice name, that would probably help as well. What do you think needs to be done to gain more momentum, or gain momentum, actually, period?
Well, I'm going now so far to say that the new government in Berlin might have yet the chance right now to set up regulations as they exist in other countries and say, until 2020 we want to have 10,000 fuel cell cars from German manufacturers. If not, then we start a discussion in a different way. For sure, political power and let's say the OEM powers, they are very closely related. But if nobody thinks so and says so, nothing will help, nothing will happen. Whether it will help when I say so, I don't know. But from my point of view at the moment, we have to become much more stringent and enforcing to bring this technology open forward and not slimlined on battery or on hybrid systems.
So it doesn't just trickle down, or like you said, I forget the term that you used, where it's just like coming in one by one versus having big bulk orders of many, many cars. So
in a cluster, you can realize it, that what part of our activities as well. But if you have several regions and several clusters where a number of remarkable cars are operating, then for sure the clusters will merge step by step, and the technology finally a kind of mobility based on a hydrogen fuel cell technology will become popular. Or at the end of the day, if it does not work, then we know it didn't work, but it was not wasted time. I'm convinced it will work fantastic, but we need forces to take the feet from the brake.
to move it forward. And yes,
Yeah.
I think hopefully we're all here convinced that it will absolutely work. We've come to the end of our talk because we ran out of time, but it was very nice speaking with you, very interesting. And I agree and I support that we do need to start now. Carry on now. Please, Hi Cologne's booth is at C54-1. So if you'd like to have any questions or you have any thoughts, please feel free to visit. And that's again booth C54 and /1. And thank you very much for talking to us.
Well, thank you very much.
Thank you. So thanks for staying. Our next talk, I have my colleague Uli coming up, and he's speaking with Dr. Professor Birgit Scheppert, who's a member of the board at Hydrogen Fuel Cell Initiative Hesse, and his topic will be On the Road to an Emission-Free Rhine-Main Area. Thank you very much.